Welcome to the Soul Unscripted Naked Truths podcast, where spirit meets skin, intuition meets curiosity, and the conversations unfold exactly the way life does: raw, real, and beautifully untamed.
We're your hosts, Rebecca and Aubrey, two women obsessed with pleasure, healing, and all the messy, magical truths that make us who we are.
In each episode, we'll have a soul-stretching, taboo-busting, pleasure-driven discussion initiated by pulling one tarot card and one mystery topic out of, well, whatever we have around the house.
No scripts, no rules, no pretending.
Just fully exposed and improvisational dialogue.
So take a breath, soften your shoulders,
grab your whip,
and step into this sincere space with us. Let's get naked in the ways that matter most.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Okay, so I've got my bowl, but I
Yeah.
also have the cat cave and the Kleenex box. It has not moved from in the past month. Still.
Cute. Wow, it's been a month.
Yeah, I know, right?
Wow. Let's do the cat cave
Cat
one,
cave.
since we talked about cats and there's a pup here.
Nice.
It's kitten cat cave, the cat cave, the cat, not bat cave, but the cat cave.
And I was gonna rewrite all these to make them bigger. I forgot
I
to
think
do
that's
that.
hilarious. I think it's
Okay, so here we are, episode 2. You ready for
episode
it?
2. Ready for it because we don't know what the heck we're gonna talk about.
Sure
What
don't.
we're gonna be talking.
Okay.
We're gonna be talking.
Okay, so
Man.
so for those listening, you can't see this, but if for watching, this is the cat cave. Big piece of felt. This is number 2's safe space.
Just gonna pull from the cat cave, topic from the cat cave.
Okay. The topic is relationships.
Wow, that's a big topic. Gee, we wrote those.
We did.
Relationships. All right, I'm gonna pull a tarot card now. Here we go. Oh, don't do that to me. Okay, so Hierophant is our
Hierophant. I've never even
card.
heard of that word.
Hierophant is a more like it's a majestic, sort of wise, magical, spiritual person, essentially, or soul or energy. So
Mm.
there's a spiritual side to this card. And the Hierophant also, just what I'm feeling myself from the card, because every time I see a card, it feels different.
Yeah.
It feels, actually, that's funny. I pulled this for some of my TikTok daily pulls, was a Hierophant today.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, must be energetically here. But it also describes or feels like an up level or an uplift. That's what it feels like to me with this card. Funny enough, we're talking about uplift or the concept of when you were talking about the eagle, which maybe we will drop in eagles just to see if anything flies
Mm.
around from that because you had some beautiful things to talk about your eagle watching
Yeah,
and the
yeah.
meaning. Okay, so we have Hierophant,
That's such a
relationships,
cool
and
word too.
Hierophant.
Yeah. I like
Yeah,
it.
it's a beautiful word, and I love the card.
Yeah,
Like,
let me see that. Oh, yeah. I'm seeing a woman's face like zoomed in. Her eyes are closed, and she's like got plants around her forehead and her
yeah,
ears.
and she has
Mm.
like either like gold paint or something on her, or like shiny.
Yeah. Yeah,
It's a
that is
gorgeous card.
gorgeous.
Interesting. Okay, so yeah, so relationships, Hierophant with a side note of eagles.
Yeah, yeah. I love
Wow,
that.
I love this. So many feelings coming forward. Um, Do we, do you want to lead? Do you want me to lead?
Mm. Well, let me take a breath here. I also need to light my candle. I forgot to do that.
Okay, you light your candle. I've got some thoughts and feelings coming forward. So um, I guess speaking from a lot of the work that I do, much of the focus revolves around relationships, not just romantic relationships being with self, with strangers, with people at work, with
Hmm.
lovers. Lovers is a big one.
Hmm.
But essentially, I find a lot of people are navigating, including myself sometimes, hello humanhood, navigating almost the uncomfortability of moving through relationships as you move through relationship with self too.
Mm.
And I know we talked a lot about the relationship of self, and I am more than positive that's going to come up probably in every episode to some capacity because it's so powerful, relationship with self. But yeah, I feel like I've been noticing a lot of uncomfortable movement in relationships with people as their awareness builds, as an example, or if their awareness isn't, if they don't feel that their awareness is building, they can tell something is up. And it does feel to me, starting with the snake to horse, if you follow the
Mm.
transition that we're moving through right now into the horse energy, there is this essence of after shedding the skin, we're moving into a new territory. And that's to me, this Hierophant energy is this like up shift, up level, new skin, and a new sense of like awareness within life. This view of self, the eagle, like looking and hovering over the view of self, and also the view of your relationships. Like, what does feel healthy? What doesn't feel healthy? Who doesn't feel good for my system? Who feels
Hmm.
amazing? Do I feel good for my own system? And I feel this sort of like it's uncomfortable, is what I feel a lot of people have been going through, possibly during the shedding or something of the snake season, if y'all believe in that. But I feel the uncomfort of moving through relationships, and to me, it feels that we're moving towards more alignment, but sometimes that's not very comfortable and it doesn't always feel great and it doesn't always feel clear. And like, I have so much clarity right away.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. Right. Yeah,
Yeah.
the discomfort piece, that's what's popping out to me right now because it is really uncomfortable when you are um, trying to uproot, patterns or beliefs that you have and replace them with something else, right? That's like another version of shedding the skin.
Mhm.
Um, something I say in my yoga classes often. So there's this posture called toe squat or fire toes, and it's where you have your toes tucked and you're like sitting on your heels. And so you're like stretching out the bottom, the arches of your feet. Feels
Mm.
so good.
Mm.
And it also can feel really uncomfortable. Like that's something that I try to do almost every day. So if you've never done fire toes before, it's gonna feel really, really uncomfortable, probably in your toes, in your ankles, in your shins. And something that I say in class for people when we're doing this is like try to observe the discomfort
Mm.
and not identify with the discomfort, which is something that I was told to me during my yoga certification. Um, and so, yeah, I don't know, that's coming forward for some reason, like observing our discomfort. And actually, this can probably tie into the eagle thing I was talking about before we started this episode. Nice.
I wrote down eagle with observe.
Eagle. Yeah, yeah. So before we started this episode, Rebecca and I were just catching up, and I was sick a couple weeks ago, and something that I noticed while I was sick, I had COVID for like a week or so, and something that I noticed during that time was eagles, which is funny
Mm.
because I was in bed for most of it, but when I did go outside, I was seeing eagles. And for those of you who don't know, I'm a huge bird lady. I love birds. I love learning about them. I love observing them. And something that I've learned over the years about eagles is that, everything in nature has lessons and teaches us things as humans, right? We've known that for thousands and thousands of years. And one of the lessons that eagles teach us is, as they as they ride the air thermals up high into the sky, it reminds us to view our own lives from a higher vista, to observe kind of, I like to say, step out of the painting that is your life and look at the whole image. And when I was sick, I was in a lot of discomfort. My body was uncomfortable. My mind was wanting to be productive, and I couldn't do things that I wanted to do. I felt guilty for not doing things. Those old patterns popped up. And so there was a lot of tug of war happening, and seeing these eagles throughout the sickness was a really uh, wonderful way to observe the discomfort that I was in and to see it from a different perspective. Like, this is just a blip in the grand scheme of my really fortunate life, you know?
Hmm. I think that's very beautiful. And it's so true. I mean, ooh, yesterday was a day pre-period energy where I was saying to you, and I said to a friend too, where I was like, my world feels like it's in a metal cage and it's getting fucking shaken up, you know? And so it's nice to like have the reminder. I mean, I feel better today, but that's fine. It's nice to have that reminder of like, okay, yeah, oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Like, take a step back, take a step up, like, let yourself feel it. You're feeling it. For fuck's sake, you're feeling it. It's there for a reason. And like,
Yeah.
ooh, we're not gonna die. We're not gonna die today, at least not today now, and so it is nice to have that reminder. Also, if we're talking about, I have a few things that came up as well. If we're talking about, that relationship to self, that's a beautiful reminder to like witness yourself, to create a new relationship with yourself where you're witnessing yourself more and you're creating that space and that compartment of that container of safety to explore a different version of yourself or to let yourself change, which, by the way, a free workshop is going to be on change and transition,
Saw that.
inspired muchly by yourself, Aubrey,
Aw.
and a lot of thinking and feeling through things. So, this observing nature can help us get out, not get out. I don't want to say that. That's not the right verbiage. Can help us create space for whatever needs to come forward without it completely rocking your world. I mean, yesterday, I'm just going to be honest, my world got rocked and I was feeling every hit and rock and turn and it was
Mm-hmm.
visceral and it was real. Had a call that changed my my life. Yay, thank you for that cute call. But like if, that call actually um, speaking of relationships, a beautiful friend of mine thought of me for something so fantastical and so aligned with what I'm doing. And that relationship and that moment really like hovered me over my situation. And I was like, oh
Mm,
my gosh, like it changed my world, it changed my existence. So relationships can be so beautiful. And so speaking of
totally.
alignment, when you're in your alignment with yourself and there's alignment with other people starting to form, which again, sometimes it takes time to get there and it can be uncomfortable initially. But when it
Oh,
starts to
yeah.
click a little bit more and more, because we're always moving and shifting and shaking, it's like you get these beautiful hints and moments of these relationships that enhance your
Hmm.
energy, enhance your life. They give you energy
Right.
naturally without them pulling from, like you're both adding this natural, like,
Yeah. You
ah.
gain energy instead of being drained by it, right?
Mhm. Yeah. Oh, right.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I love getting those calls or messages from a friend when you really need it. And I think that is kind of like going back to this Hierophant card. It's this
Mhm.
uplifting spiritual thing, right? Like, each of us have our own personal relationship with God or with spirit or whatever it is you call it. And uh I believe that when you receive these little things throughout the day or throughout your week and you're just like, oh, that was exactly what I needed. That was spirit or God, like kind of like, doing the little
Hmm.
pulling the strings and stuff of like, oh yeah, like this is coming your way. That's I don't know. That's what I like to think of that as.
I love that. I love that. I also am right there with you. You know, for me, it's the energy, it's the spirits, our guides, it's your higher self too. I
Hmm.
totally feel that our, I don't even want to call it our higher selves because we're higher as we are right now, but that's sort of just a terminology used so that our
Right,
higher
right.
self is with us. And like you're saying, these moments are like these breaths of
Yes.
bliss and joy and just like you're here, you're human, you're in it, and you're on it, like also you're on it in terms of you're, whatever you're doing, which whatever you're doing is perfect. There's no right or wrong, truly. And God, spirit guides, they support us in whatever decisions we make. Hopefully it's heart space, but we're always learning and growing.
Hmm.
And yeah, I think that I kind of lost track of my mind a bit, but I think what I'm working to say is that, these little moments, there are these uplifts of alignment and these moments of like you are aligning.
Yeah.
And it's not even about alignment because I also feel like if I'm talking about it like that, it almost feels like it's like a goal to achieve, which is so not true.
Yeah. I
Alignment is
think I know what you
present.
mean. Yeah,
Yeah, alignment is presence, which presence is the complete, like just awe and let go, like presence is
totally.
magic. I have a book on the purpose of life, and one of the main portions is presence. And I love talking about presence, but it's also that, like this moment that just takes you into this visceral experience and this like existential spiritual experience of like a moment. And you're like, oh, I feel so good. Like, oh shit,
Hmm.
like
Dude, I'm excited that you're going into a period because that honestly, what you just described, this existential moments and kind of blissful states, it's not always like that. But when you're going into menstruation, like the veil between worlds, right, is
Mm,
thinned. And so when you were saying like I'm feeling every little crack, everything, it's like, yeah, that's kind of what happens.
mm,
And sometimes that can be really like a lot,
mm.
like obviously.
Every
And
month, every month, it's not, yeah.
and yeah, it's but it can also you can kind of because that veil is thinned, right? You can kind of almost float into these existential places and spiritual
Mm,
places.
mm,
Um, you
mm.
know, in my 20s, I was like an atheist. I was an atheist for a really long time, and I didn't believe in anything spiritual or, anything like that. Um, and it's only been really in the past, I don't know, 5 or 6 years that maybe 8 years, I don't know, that I've been really starting to find my curiosity around that again because I'm curious about so many things. But for some reason that door was really shut. Um, you know, and I don't really care to go into why, and I'm not really sure why at this time, but uh yeah, it's felt really nice to, I don't know, maybe embrace that Hierophant a little bit. Even though I didn't even know that's what it was called, or, didn't even have that
Yeah.
word until today, but like to just discover and find my own connection to spirituality in that way. And I think the
And
birds is a part of it. I think that's how
oh,
God
yeah.
talks to me.
Definitely. That's interesting, speaking of Hierophant and relationship to God, like your relationship with God, which is so beautiful, like that. That's so, and I also do want to say anyone that's listening, if you are in the atheist world, I have some people in my family, like power to you, props to you for being in that space. And I don't know. I just think every version of ourselves and every version of humanhood that, I mean, is curious and led by heart space, not necessarily the malicious, like non-empathy type people necessarily, but when you're just existing as you are, and if as you are right now isn't in the space to want to believe in anything, like that's beautiful. I think
Yeah,
that's your right, your choice, your prerogative. And I think that's
right.
because it's where you are. If that's where you are, that's beautiful. It's perfect.
Yeah, because we all have our own paths and we all find our way in a
Hmm.
different way, you know. Um, yeah, I didn't even use the word God like in this capacity until like probably like a year or two ago, even, it was really uncomfortable to say. And so, yeah, relationship to God, relationship to spirit. Sometimes I call it the Great Mother as well, or the universe. There's so many names.
Hmm.
I think one of my sisters calls it Source.
Yeah.
So yeah, I feel like there's all these different names if that's something that you feel connected to. Um,
Absolutely. However you feel it, feel her, feel him, feel it, feel the energy, that's
mhm.
yours and that's your truth and that's amazing.
Yeah.
Truly, I think creating space, especially with what we're going through in the world, speaking of relationship to others, I think that the one thing I would love to see, and I don't know how you feel about this, I'm open to hearing about it, is if we can create space for other people and where they're at, if we all do that to each other, not necessarily like it's not ignoring, it's not just like being complacent, but it's creating space for people to be as they are and to believe what they want. I think that that could create a lot of softening or a lot more space for people to coexist together, even if they don't agree. Um, I feel this is personally my experience was I grew up in a very Catholic Christian household, and still
Mm.
to this day, and this is just my experience. This is not all of Catholicism and Christianity. I
Right.
fully acknowledge this. And in my family, still to this day, people are not okay because they love the same sex. People, honestly, I've heard from lips in my family, people need to die basically because they're
Mm.
gay.
That's
And
awful.
the work that I do with tarot is the devil's work, and essentially I'm going to hell. And
Right.
so, like those things, those are quite damaging. Like maybe not as much now for me. Growing
Yeah.
up, though, I knew in my soul, because we're all different. We're all here for our own lessons and purpose and our relationship to
Hmm.
life. We're all here in our own capacity to grow, to, experience things and affect other people. And that was for my path, that relationship to God it felt terrible in my
Yeah.
system. It felt awful. My version of God now is more universe, spirit, energy,
Yeah.
guides. That's where I've gone. But I still have so much space for God and for people and like everyone. And in different religions too, this was also something that was very much preached to my household. If you're not Catholic or Christian, you're wrong and you're going to
Hmm.
hell. And it's like, well, what about the people that are like, I said to this person, I said, what if you were born in another country and you were born into a different religion? Would you be saying right now that everyone else is around you is wrong, or would you hold space? And I know the answer to that from their perspective, but like
Yeah.
whatever. I think for the relationship to God, even to others around us, if we can create space for people to be as they are
Mhm.
and have this open dialogue and have this open heart space,
Yeah.
I don't know, to me, like this land is my land, this land is your land, although it's probably not our lands because it's the indigenous people's lands. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. Anyways.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. Yeah. What I'm hearing is that, and I think this is true for quite a few people that I've talked to as well, who've um, grown up in like a religious or Christian household. So yeah, like that relationship with God, not always, not for everyone, but for some, especially if they don't fit the mold of maybe, let's just use the example of heterosexuality, like it doesn't feel very good, that relationship with God. And that can be really damaging as they grow up. And I I didn't grow up in a Catholic household, but we did go to church. I only wanted to go to church because my friend was going to church. Like that, Like it wasn't like my mom and dad were like, "All right, we're going to church to praise the Lord." Like, no, they were like, "You want to go? Sure."
Yeah.
Like, so
Yeah.
that's kind of it wasn't like a big thing that we discussed in my household or anything.
Yeah.
And in reading parts of the Bible, I wrote about this in my book, The Art of Self-Pleasure.
Mm.
It there were some parts of the Bible that I felt were confusing around like
Mm.
sexuality and um self-touch. And then there were other parts of the Bible that I thought were really beautiful around body and pleasure. And so it was confusing, honestly.
Mm.
And then of course, like just being my little sensitive self,
Mm.
uh when I would date someone, it was like I would become a copy of them.
Mm.
You know what I
Mm.
mean? And so my first like serious boyfriend in high school was an atheist. And then I was like, yeah, me too, motherfuckers. And I was like, it's me and him against the world. Like, I was so in it. And then it just kind of stayed with me, you know? But I'll tell you what, that when I was deep in the kind of that atheism and me and my mom would have like arguments about it, it kind of got nasty sometimes.
Mhm.
And that lack of relationship, I should say, to
Mm.
God was so lonely. It was a
Mhm.
pretty lonely time. And
Mm.
I was craving, when I look back now, I was
Mm.
craving a relationship with something bigger than myself. Didn't have to be
Mhm.
God. But something bigger than just me and like my boyfriend and our
Mhm. Yeah.
friends. Like there's something else that has to be bigger than us, right? Of course.
Mhm.
Um, and I remember again, like just looking back, like, and I wouldn't trade this because I had wonderful experiences doing this, but doing drugs and taking mushrooms and stuff, and all those things now that I look back, I recognize was like my way of like searching for a connection to something bigger than myself. Um, so yeah, it's been an interesting journey to that. But
I love
um
that. I think it came up. We just finished watching the latest series of Alone. Have you heard of that series?
is that the one where they're in like the woods and they have like
Yes.
their own camera? Okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Unbelievable. Great
Yeah.
season. I forget which one is the latest one. And I
My
won't
brother-in-law
spoil.
loves that show.
It's so good. I won't spoil who won, but I was like, anyways, um, nature and I'm going to speak on I don't know if I have indigenous background. I actually have half of me I don't know, and people think I might have indigenous background, and which I would love, by the way. I'm open to any background. And the relationship to something bigger than, there was a few people who had indigenous either background or learned about indigenous ways, especially to survive. And so they essentially go onto the show, by the way, and they get thrown into the woods. This one was in North Arctic Canada, and they have to, like, everything is survival: water,
Yeah,
food, shelter,
dude.
your mental health. Holy bananas. Everything
Yeah.
is just the primal, whatever version of being
Optimus Prime.
Optimus Prime. Yes, yes, yes. But it's this version of themselves, and a lot of them talk in their own ways about their experience and this relationship to nature, which nature, a lot of people like God created, right? And just FYI, I am not as much in the space of God, I think, just to share in general with
Yeah.
people listening, and not to yourself. I think you and I have talked about this stuff. But um, anyways, this nature connection, which in indigenous cultures, many of them, there's like Brother Wind, there's like all these, oh,
Yeah.
it's so beautiful. I'm so connected to the indigenous
Father,
culture, I
Son,
feel.
Mother Moon.
Yeah. And they were stripped of everything else and were alone. Their relationship with their self, they had to face everything. Some people couldn't. Like some people were like, I'm gonna
Yeah.
mentally jump off of freaking like
Yeah.
wall here, and it's the space, the nothingness, the going back to the most primal version of yourself, it connected many of them to something bigger than them.
Yeah.
And I would
Yeah.
say
It's like
most of
going
them
into
were,
a void.
yeah, but I would say most of them like were aware that they were connected to something bigger and things like that, especially nature, like nature. That's how I feel. Like nature is
Yeah.
one of the greatest connectors for me. The greatest spiritual thing for me ever is just
Mm,
nature.
yeah.
And I don't, I honestly, I keep losing my train of thought today. You're the one that had COVID, not me. Just kidding. I did have COVID. Brain fog.
All right.
I'm
That's
just
what
kidding.
menstruation is, right? You're like, I'm in this ethereal place. You know?
And here we are. We've moved through this field, and now we're in the Arctic on ice, and we're excited. But I don't know. I think
But,
the relationship with life, ourselves, people, something bigger than ourselves, it's always moving, it's always shifting, it's always
yeah, it's
evolving.
always
And,
evolving. Yeah.
and I don't think for me, I'm just speaking from what you were mentioning, I don't think I ever had a time where I didn't feel like where I was lost from something bigger than me. And I think I have dance to thank for that. Dance was
Mm,
when I was little, it was my safe space. It was more spirit, like that was my spirituality, was dance. And if I look back, just based on what you said and thinking about it right now, is I don't
yeah.
think I ever felt disconnected from like universe, energy, source, God. I don't think I ever felt disconnected. In fact, I felt
Mm,
so connected. And sometimes I think it would be confusing to not like to be out of that and then to go through shit as a little kid or as like a human. And you're like, wait, what is this? What am I do? What is
mhm,
happening here? Because I know that other feeling. And um yeah,
mm.
I don't think I ever called it God. I think for me a lot of it, even when I was young, like girl
Yeah.
has a purpose for some reason here, and I still don't fully know it, but even when I was young, I knew for me, the church saying he, him, God being a man, I was like, I don't accept this. I was like, I
Mm,
do not accept this he version way before I even understood what the fuck I was feeling. And
right.
and it's become very clear to me that I feel genderless when it comes to this power. In fact, sometimes I feel like it's more woman
Yeah.
than it is man, you know? So
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
still struggle with the version of the word God
The verbiage.
simply
Yeah.
because of our society's perspective of it,
Right.
I would
Right.
say.
Same. Same.
Yeah, but either way, like
I love
it's
that
cool to
dance was
reflect
that
on
for
that.
you though. Yeah, yeah. And I love
Yeah.
hearing that like looking back to your dancing, you're like, "Oh my gosh, that was like kind of your way of being connected to spirituality or divineness, whatever." Because, you know, that another thing they talk about in the church and in all kinds of religions is like we all have like this light inside of us, right? That we're all touched by the divine. And so it was like touching into that. That's really
Hmm.
beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah, and excuse me, I think also it was again, this is strictly my path. I think it was a light for me in terms of loving everyone. And truly, if we are acting in way of God, then we are loving everyone. You know what I mean? Which I don't
Yeah.
feel is happening right now. It's awful right now.
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah, there's quite a bit
honestly,
of division.
it's disgusting in my mind. And I'm literally like, look in the fucking mirror. Do you think Jesus would do this if you're really like,
Hmm.
love Jesus? I love Jesus. Do you think Jesus would actually do this? What you're doing right now? No, definitely not. Um, and
Yeah.
dance was it was always the thing I came back to. Even when I was in church, I felt wrong. And I was like, like, when your body tells you something's wrong. And again, I was
Yeah, when
young.
your body says no.
Yeah, I didn't
Hmm.
understand as a kid what that meant, but I would feel constricted and awful and scared in
Yeah.
church. And the dance space for me and my path in dance, I chose the cool path in dance for myself. And it was love, it was compassion, it
Open.
was space, it was people from different backgrounds, it was theys, it was gays, it was straight, it was like love. And I always fought with that version of the family from my view of this from dance. And again, dance
Yeah.
is not just dance for me. It's that's my spiritual path, one of my spiritual paths here.
Yeah.
And I'm so grateful that I was able to say, like, no, I know love. And not just me, like we all have access to knowing love. But when those contradictory things like that were really full of hate, truly, came forward, I would say, but I know love, like
Mm.
this isn't what you're portraying right now and what you're saying. Your perceptions, we're all entitled to our own perceptions and value and like whatever, sure. Except for when it really harms people, which it does. Um, I don't know. I was so grateful to be like, but I know love, like I know love. Like, why can't you hear me? And I didn't know how to communicate as well as a kid. I
Oh
think now it would be
yeah,
different.
man.
And but now, speaking of relationships, I have boundaries because I've already yelled. I've already done that. And I've exhausted
Yeah,
myself talking to
right.
people that aren't ready to hear. And I'm not better than them. They're not better than me. We're just
Yeah,
misaligned.
we're on different paths. Yeah, misaligned,
Yeah.
different paths.
I
Totally.
don't want to operate
Speaking
by the
of,
fear-based.
yeah, and we're kind of going into relationship to body now, right? Going with
Mm.
dance and stuff. So I'd love to segue into that. Which, by the
Ooh.
way, what a fun discussion around our relationships with God and spirit. Was not knowing that we were going to talk about that today. So
I want to
that
clap
felt.
you.
I have
Whoa.
unbuttoned another button on my shirt,
Well,
so
I showed you my
that's
half top. Hey,
nice.
buddy.
But yeah, maybe we could segue into relationship with body.
I would
So I
love
think
that.
that's a big one for probably a lot of our listeners, of like what what does the relationship with the body even look like or feel like? For my experience, I didn't really have one for a long time. Like it wasn't really something I don't think I was taught necessarily, or if I was, like it didn't stick with me, you know.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, yeah. Like I so one of my nieces, she really likes doing yoga with me when I go home.
Oh,
It's the
oh,
sweetest fucking thing.
oh.
She'll say, "Oh, can we do some yoga together?" I'm like, "Yeah, girl." Or she'll say, "Can we meditate?" I'm like, "Hell yeah." And
Or
I think it's really helpful for her. And we were at a funeral one time, my aunt's funeral, and this was a couple years ago. And on the way there, funerals are I mean, they're rough for a lot of us.
Mhm.
And um usually I need to find some grounding meditation before I go. And I was sitting in the back of my van with her, and I was like, well, I'm not gonna just like meditate by myself while she's sitting right next to me. Like, I'm not gonna be like that. And so I was like, hey, do you want to like do this with me? And she's like, yeah. So I found like a short kids one, and she's like, oh, and we talked like, how do you feel in your body right now? She's like, I feel calm. And I was like, yeah, right on. I was like, yeah, my toes are kind of tingly. And then she's like, can we do another one? And I was like, yeah. And we ended up doing like three meditations on this like 20-minute drive. And I was like, this is such a cool thing to do with my niece. Like, and again, I don't remember if anyone did this to me when I was a kid. If so, I don't remember, but I would imagine probably not.
Oh,
Just because maybe the tools weren't there, they didn't know about those tools. And yeah, while we were there, I would say, hey, anytime, during this time we're here at the funeral, if you want to feel calm in your body, just let me know, and I'll bring my phone and my headphones in, and we can just go outside or do whatever and go do it. And at one point she said, Auntie, I want to feel calm in my body. And I was like, I was like crying. I was
wow.
so happy. And it was just the coolest thing. And like I feel like if we teach our children this like early on, right? To like, okay, this is what anger feels, maybe how does this feel in your body? This is what you were saying earlier, what no feels like in your body. I love watching you. You
I'm
know?
going through a yes right now on my body listening to you. Woo!
Yeah, like I feel like it would be so, so, so helpful because it's been helpful for me in my life, like way later, learning all these things. So I'll pause there.
Wow. That's what you just said was so full. And oh my, I almost like, I will speak because I do have things to say, but there's a part of me that feels like speechless with what you said because there's a sense of awe for what you're doing. And I think that comes from probably as a kid. Like I learned so much about my body through dance, so much, but there was
Yeah.
also not necessarily the like level of connection to why. Like there was like you're feeling
Mm,
angry, so express this way. And so I learned like emotional intelligence 505 in my body and transmuting that in a way. I didn't really
Cool.
understand the why and like, or why
Mm,
was my body feeling that? Like, oh, I'm feeling angry. And so I would just dance and be angry. And that's great. And also like an understanding of like, what's going on? What do we need?
right. Like
Bring
having
ourselves
a
back.
mental understanding to explanation. Yeah, yeah,
Totally. Like, yeah. And
totally.
like, can we bring ourselves back to homeostasis and stuff? And I didn't really understand that emotionally. Like, I knew how to transmute it, I knew how to show it and create with it, which fuck yeah. And there was so much of me, I think, that would have been craved to have been seen, heard, and understood, like you're doing with your niece. Like, that's unbelievable. Like, it's unbelievable what you're doing with your niece, like, truly.
Mm,
And
thanks.
yeah, like oh, like I like I'm stuttering because I think the level of importance is so high. And speaking of alone, I'm kind of obsessed. But there was this one guy, I'm
Yeah,
not
bring it
gonna ruin
in.
anything. I won't ruin anything, I don't think, with this. But he, at the very end of his experience, was like, "Oh, I've suppressed my emotions for so long, and my son was super emotional, and I used to tell my son to stop, like stop being so
Mm.
emotional. You're too emotional." And at the end of his experience, he goes, you can't not feel here. Whatever you suppress is coming forward. And he goes, I think I'm going to have a very different relationship with my son. And I was like, oh my God. Like, I was just like,
Oh, that would make me cry.
I know, right? Like the relationship with his son, the relationship to his emotions, the relationship to life. Like
Mm,
when he
hmm.
was connecting to his emotions, like they talk about being alive,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
you're teaching that to your
yeah.
niece. Like, crazy. Like, that's
Well,
crazy.
I'm hearing, okay, so now like it's a
Mm,
relationship between mind, body, and emotion, right?
mm,
Because
mm, mm.
just
And
like
spirit.
and spirit, right? So
Yeah.
our emotions are signals for us. And like you were saying, or like this person was saying in the loan, like you can't just ignore them. Like you could try. You can ignore them for several years, but then
Mm,
it's gonna come out sometime.
mhm.
And it's not healthy to ignore, right? There's
Oh
signals for
my
you. Just like
God.
your body has signals for you. Now,
Mhm,
is every single emotion something that you need to like follow all the way down to its root? Like, no. Just like our thoughts, like there's thoughts that don't matter too. But we don't learn how to discern or decipher if we don't
mhm,
practice at it, right? If we don't
mhm,
build some type of framework around having a relationship with our emotions,
mhm,
having a relationship with our bodies, right? If we don't
mhm,
have any framework, then we can't decipher what's important and what's not
mhm.
when we do start to receive things, or listen to
Yeah,
things.
I have something I would love to add if you're open to this
Yeah, yeah.
because yeah, like I think I disagree a little bit because I feel, and let me know how you feel.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
There's a part of me that wants to disagree because I do think everything matters, and that's just my view. And maybe, yeah, I'm excited to chat about this if something comes up. But I feel like it does matter, and I feel like if you're saying to yourself, as an example, I'm a piece of shit or everything is doomed, like the reason that that matters to me is because it's signaling something to be connected further, or it's signaling something to be heard or
Mm,
listened to, or it's signaling something to be possibly nurtured or heal further. And so for me, I want to be like, and this is for me, and my path is to be like, oh, I love you. Thank you for saying that because you're
right,
illuminating
right.
something that is sitting in my fucking body. Even if I think I've dealt with it, even if I want to try to bypass it, you're not going to let me. I feel like
Mm,
shit. I feel like I think I'm a, which I don't feel that way now
right,
anymore
right.
really, but I did. Like I was like, you feel like shit about yourself. Like
Mm.
I used to be like, yeah, of course I love myself, of course. And
I
like the
see what you're
more that I went
saying.
through it, I was like, I fucking don't. Like, thank you for
Yeah.
making me feel like shit every time I said I loved myself, or
Mm.
because I
Yeah.
didn't before. And it led me
Yeah. I see what you're
to
meaning. Like, you're like, even if it can be like the nastiest, worst thing that you hear, like a thought, right? It's still like a signal in some way of like, hey, there's something here that you might need to go in and check out, right? Yeah,
yeah,
I'm hearing you with that. Yeah. Yeah, I
yeah,
like that. Yeah,
yeah. And
I could get on board with that.
I also understand the thing of like a thought doesn't matter in way of being like thank you, no thank you, like a
Right.
boundary. Like that can
Right.
also be when you're like you don't matter, which again I could never say that to myself anymore. I could be like, "Oh my God." But like
Hmm.
if you were to say that, that could be a form of a boundary for you, right? Where you're like,
Totally.
Right.
I see you and like we're not gonna do that right now because I know if we do, we might tip off the mental thing or something or the emotional thing, you know? So like that
Right.
could be a boundary. It like with what
Right.
you're saying too, could absolutely be a version of a boundary that you're setting.
Right. So again, it's you've got to practice like, okay, what is this actually meaning for me right now?
What's your
Because
relationship to the words too?
what's your relationship to the words and what do they mean for you? Because if you are unsure of that, which I mean, I'm not perfect. I have been unsure of many feelings that I get because sometimes, and here, maybe I'm like getting ahead of myself. Woo woo, get excited.
No, run.
Um, run. Um, okay, let me take a breath. So, on the opposite side of what you were saying everything does matter and there is a signal. I can get on board with that. I like how you were saying that. So I'm going to go devil's advocate, other side,
Mhm.
with like things that maybe don't matter, right? If there is a feeling that I feel out of nowhere that I'm like, where is this coming from? As a highly sensitive person and an empath, sometimes I just pick up something that's not mine. Like at a grocery store, I'll pick up
Mhm.
somebody else, or oh, airports are the worst. I'll pick up somebody else's frustration. I'll pick up
Mhm.
somebody else's whatever. And so in those moments, I have to discern, I have to figure out,
Mhm.
is this mine or is this somebody else's? So it does still technically matter, right? It's still a signal to
Mhm.
me. It's a signal. But
Mhm.
then following the signal, do I need to like continue to
Mhm.
feel this way and like really figure out like why am I so frustrated right now and like have a hard time figuring it out? Or is it something that I need to just let go of because it's actually not
Mhm.
mine, you know? So
Mhm.
I still think I'm still going back to your point. I think it's still a signal. I think it still matters.
I
Yeah.
I love that. And I love your use of discernment too. I think that's a very important thing for like
Mm.
I would say for every human to
All of
have in their
us.
back pocket for sure. And I absolutely relate to you. I'm sure many
Mm.
people like of all different genders and sorts can absolutely relate to being like, is this even mine? You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
speaking of emotions and my relationships to emotion, this doesn't feel like mine. That's actually
Yeah.
quite common and quite
And
beautiful.
our
And
and our beliefs too, right?
yeah,
Like
yeah.
hearing the way that you speak to yourself. You're like, is this actually
Mhm.
mine or is this something that I heard from my mother growing up all the time or
Exactly.
from my cousins? Yeah.
Totally. And do I believe that? Again, another signal of like, I'm saying
Hmm.
something that I regurgitated essentially that I heard from before. Like, okay, so do I believe this? Shit, a part
Hmm.
of like a quarter of me does. Oh, interesting. But three-quarters of me knows this is not mine. So, you know what
Three
I mean?
quarters.
Yeah, three quarters of it are not mine. All
That's what
right,
I have. Every time I have to say it like that.
three quarters.
I'm gonna start saying
Um,
that to my partner when he says, "How do you feel?" I'm like, "Well, three quarters of me is pretty pissed, but one quarter is happy."
that's great. That's
Oh, okay.
beautiful.
I got a question for us. I got a
Huh,
question for you.
yeah.
Okay, so we're talking about, relationship between emotions, body, mind, right?
Mm.
And figuring out kind of discerning what do we do with these signals that we're getting, right? So, what's one major thing in your life that has helped you with this discernment that you either do or that you say or that you've experienced, could be anything.
Honestly, one of
That
the
makes
major
sense?
things,
The
this is
question?
not my full answer. This is not my full answer. One of the things I will elaborate is these tarot cards.
Hmm. I was just thinking, I was just thinking, this is not my full answer. This is my three quarters of an
Three
answer.
quarters. This is my one quarter leaking into the three quarters. Um, that was awful. But so I want to say my first answer response is tarot cards, and I will elaborate
Mm.
on that.
Yeah, yeah, please.
When I had some really cool, interesting things happen when one of my friends died, and she started messing with a lot of things in my house where it was undeniable that there was something greater than, and your spirit can exist elsewhere. Um, uh, that whole time, led me to tarot cards, which I was
Mm.
like, whoa, weird, interesting. Um, and I was already doing some inner reflection, especially coming from the sex tape stuff. I was already going to therapy. I was already doing a bunch of work.
Right.
Um, but there was like, I wasn't like, for me, this was a necessary part of my growth. So tarot cards and this whole spiritual thing that happened, it led me to, I used to use tarot cards as like my answer. And I would literally be like, that wasn't right. That wasn't right. That's what I want to see. Oh gosh, puppy. Lucy. Sorry, I don't know if you heard that.
I didn't hear it at all.
Oh, okay, Lucy was barking and she scared me.
Oh.
But what that did after a time of doing that and being like, what am I doing? It led me
Hmm.
to question things. It led me to understand how I felt about something. Like, why do I keep trying to
Mm.
convince myself that this person's right for me? Or why am I doing this when it's not right for me? And it kind of through, I don't know if it's trial and error or what, but it led me to understand the concept of discernment for myself. And
Mm.
I almost can't bridge the two together, but that's my answer is like
Yeah.
the use of it and spirituality and the enhancement of what I was already doing in my therapy and understanding the body and my dance work and all of that. It sort of became this bridge of like, oh, this is what discernment means, or this is what a boundary
Mm.
feels like, or I almost can't describe what I'm saying, but that's my answer.
No, it's all good. It's all good. And you know what's
Yeah.
funny is that in deciding how each episode of this podcast is chosen, we use tarot. We're using tarot. And so we're using tarot right now to discern how we go about these things.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, thank you.
What about
Thank you.
you?
I would say for me, one avenue that has been really, really helpful in just feeling my own choice in general, I'll say, my own inner choice, inner discernment, is self-pleasure rituals.
Ah,
Those have been the biggest thing.
hell yeah.
Um, yeah, I started doing those in 2023, and that's what I wrote my book about. And yeah, I think just I remember talking to a friend about how long it takes to like go on a date or something. Because, I've been dating Eric for quite some time. And at one point we were, I was wanting to have a female playmate type of thing. And I was like, how the fuck do we do this? Like, how do people go on dates and stuff? Like, I don't know. I haven't done it in a while. I don't know what to say or what to do.
Mm.
And um, I also just didn't know what I wanted, I think, from not just playmate stuff, but in general. I think that's a big thing for women when we talk about intimacy and sexuality with your partner is like you don't really know how to tell them what you want because you don't know what you want, you know?
Mhm,
And
mhm.
so going into these self-pleasure rituals a few years ago was the the purpose, the intention was really to like learn about my own body and like, okay, what does my body actually want? How can I build this relationship with it? But
Mhm.
then what actually happened and what blossomed that I wasn't expecting was I got in touch with my inner choice with everything, not just sexuality. Like I didn't just learn what my body wants. I learned like how to make choices with myself and
Wow.
nobody else around, And that was
Mhm.
just really powerful too.
I think
Yeah.
that's extremely powerful. And I love how, you've taught me this and we've explored this a lot. And again, this is coming from you and your learnings and lessons and stuff for yourself and to help others is like, the relationship to pleasure and your relationship to pleasure and self is also, as that builds, it builds your voice as well. Like it builds your internal voice and your
Yes.
connection with yourself, but it builds your voice. And I might not be sharing this in the most effective way, but essentially, like, that's so beautiful, by the way. Like your relationship to yourself and your pleasure was one of your main sources of discernment. And like, yeah,
Mm.
learning what you like and learning what you don't like, and then using that to infuse this lesson to the rest of your life. Like, that's just so,
Absolutely.
so magical. And also like that's what an invitation to for people to really be open to like anything being their source of lesson or like let it. I think sometimes we
Yes.
judge like, wow,
Yeah.
that was such like I held a pen and I put it on my paper. That was so magical. And sometimes we go like, oh, that's silly, and it's like, well,
But
no,
maybe
you know what I mean?
that's your path to finding discernment.
Exactly. Like freaking scribble,
Absolutely.
write, draw, like
Yeah.
keep going. Like
Hmm.
you're and like to even go beyond discernment to bring it even back into like Hierophant and relationship, like if writing as an example is a way to connect to something bigger, like holy shit, you know what I mean? Like that's one of your gifts. Like I
Hmm.
I, I love the acknowledgement. I remember during COVID, one of the I was so lost because many of us were lost
Right.
and I was like also my relationship to dance was changing and I didn't know and it was like heartbreaking. But anyways, still is sometimes. Either way, and also exciting. But I remember being like, who am I? Like what the
Yeah.
f and it was one of those moments of like, what is one of my lessons? And I went back to being like, what is one thing that I like? And I couldn't give an answer yet, but I was like, coffee, coffee shops specifically. And I was at coffee shops and I was like, the
Hmm.
fuck? Like, and I didn't stop myself, which I thought was really beautiful. I left that and I probably stayed there for months being like, I like coffee shops. Okay, cute, like super deep girlfriend. But then what I realized, it was deep and I know that now, but I was
Hmm.
like kind of
Yeah.
also
Yeah.
judging myself.
Sure. Sure. Yeah.
And eventually, it became almost a purpose in way of, oh shit, coffee shops, there's people there. That means, and I fucking like, I'll listen and talk to anyone. Like someone will talk
Yeah.
about their dog and I'm like, oh my God, right? And they're like, yeah, and like we connect and it's so fun. And not all the time if I'm not in the mood, but yeah, it became like connection. It actually became
Yeah.
my pathway to understanding my relationship to connection, which is
Mhm.
always been one of my deepest core values before I
Right.
fucking understood it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, like, I think if we can move into these relationships with ourselves, with these interesting, maybe quirky,
Eh,
weird, whatever they
Yeah.
are
Small
things, it's like
steps.
it opens up
Yeah.
the relationship to life and your purpose, your relationship to
Yeah.
your purpose. Like,
Absolutely. Yeah.
unbelievable, unbelievable.
Yeah, you like I feel like in movies and in books and stuff like and some people do have this experience but like they want it to be this huge like oh my
Mm.
God like the sun rays came down and God spoke to me and blah 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 and it's like that's not really what happens though to most people. For the most part, you just fucking go to a coffee shop and then you see where it goes, or you sit down and write some words out and
Yeah.
then you see where it goes. Like that's
Yeah.
it's these small steps that
Hmm.
what I call it following the pull of pleasure, which is
Mm.
not my term by the way. It was a term I learned from Betty Martin in a workshop. And but following these little gentle pulls of like, okay, you know what? And that's what you do in the self-pleasure ritual too. You just follow this little pull of pleasure. It doesn't have to do anything with sex. It's
Mm.
all about pleasure, in my opinion. And I think that my relationship to pleasure is now exists first. First of all,
Yeah.
it exists now in a way that I
Heard.
think is healthy.
Mm.
And it honestly is one of the directors kind of my life. Like it helps me figure out where to go in the world.
Mm.
Like if it's something that feels like you were talking about earlier, like you feel like a restriction, you feel this no in your body, then I'm not gonna go to that path. I'm gonna go to the path where there's a yes, where there's joy, where there's pleasure,
Where there's an
you know?
orgasm. Yeah.
Many orgasms.
A
Yeah.
life orgasm. No, yeah, I think that's great. And it's so interesting. You and I have been working together for years and we've talked about pleasure. And
Wow.
I feel like right now I'm sitting there going, oh my gosh, huh. I feel a pull towards the exploration of pleasure in my life again. Like, sure, physically
Mm,
and also emotionally. I think that my relationship to self, as we're actively always shifting, it's changing. Like it's changing again.
yeah.
And it's painful and there's a lot of confusion and grief and a lot of like
Mm,
sadness and a lot. Yeah, I'm still very confused about some of the things I'm shifting through and into. And also I'm genuinely like heartly spaced open and excited, but I would say mostly I'm in the grieving. And so it's like hearing you
Yeah.
talk about the pull of pleasure, which I have been in tune with much of my life. And it's not that I'm out of tune with it. I feel that there's room to like not re-explore, but like allow myself to change there too. Like
Oh,
allow my connection to
absolutely.
pleasure as it was,
Hmm.
that's changing. Like, and so I don't even know how to navigate that except for be curious and let the little
Mm.
things like you're saying, these like pings or these pulls, let those be your
Guide
guide
you.
and be
Yeah.
curious, you know?
Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
yeah, yeah.
Mm.
And
Do are
that's yeah.
you comfortable elaborating a bit more on the grief that you might be experiencing? Because I know your
Oh.
workshop is around transition,
Oh my God, I didn't even
right?
like think about that.
And so
Girlfriend. Oh,
and when we transition, we you know we grieve what we're leaving, you know, and so I didn't know if you wanted to speak more to that.
oh, I'd love to. And I think this is also like, I love this, by the way. Yes.
Yeah, our relationship to grief. Mm.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And also speaking of the power of dance, I think that is, it's not, I think, I know that my relationship to dance is completely different. And I think I knew my relationship to dance was different when the sex tape stuff and it got ripped away from me.
Mm.
Um, and I was
Dance got ripped
mad.
away from you, you mean?
Dance did because I
Okay.
got canceled
Yeah,
and I
right.
got hurt where I stopped because I was hurt. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like I
Yeah.
love myself for what I went through and have space for it. And I kind of was angry because I knew that changed everything and it changed everything in me in a way of that I was like, it's kind of like supposed to. And it's not that dance is out of my life. It's like it is my blood. It will always be my blood. But the way that I connect to it as a human is changing and I could even
Yeah.
cry like talking about it. And I don't know what that looks like. And
Yeah.
my relationship to dance is changing. And then I go, well, does that mean my relationship to choreography is changing or choreographing is changing? Like I do not know. And it
Yeah.
is one of
Like
the
what
most
other relationships are changing in my life now? Yeah.
exactly. And
Hmm.
I don't
Hmm.
know. And because it held so much impact and it was my guide in my life, no doubt. It was my guide through everything, like relationships,
Hmm.
sex, like spirituality, earth,
Hmm.
emotions. It was literally everything. Dance was my everything. Because that's changing, I've wanted to grip to it so bad. Oh
Hmm.
my God. So don't go, don't leave. What's going to happen when you're gone? And it's not that it's going.
Yeah.
And I understand that, but that's what I'm
But it's
feeling.
changing. Yes.
And
Yeah. And
and I
there's parts of it that are, yeah. Go
and I
ahead.
want it to change because I know that it's I like, and I almost can't say this, but my higher self and my like the part of me that knows, but my human self is I'm not ready to admit this, but I know it's changing in a way that it's going to be really good for me, and it's not
Hmm.
going away. Like I need to kind of remind myself it's not going away. It's
Yeah.
shifting, but I'm
Yeah.
like in full-blown denial about that, being
Yeah.
like, nope, nope, I'm a
Yeah.
dancer, and I will always be a dancer. Look at me like gulping. I'm like. But I will always be a dancer, and I need to give myself some credit that, like, I was an athlete. I was a
Mhm.
dancer, and there's so much around being a dancer that was all of me. And it was how
Mm.
people saw me and loved me. And I'm still lovable. I'm still lovable, like,
Yeah.
also, like, I'm
Yeah.
still powerful. Like, my body's not the same. And I actually have always wanted this. I've wanted a softer, more feminine body. I got exactly what I was wanting, which
What
is
you were
so crazy.
asking for. Yeah.
Right? I'm like, and
Oh,
I
yeah. That's
knew
how the
though that it
universe
was
works.
right. And I knew it was more than just like, I want a feminine body. Like I knew it was more
Right.
than that. Because I wanted to experience that. I had a very like more like straight, which is still beautiful and feminine, by the
Yeah.
way.
Yeah. Yeah. You just,
I
yeah,
was
you were looking for
stunning.
something different.
I like
You are
I
still
was
stunning.
thank you.
You're
And it
welcome.
wasn't a pleasant journey getting there. I gained weight. I was
Yeah.
here. There was injuries. There was this. And it was like I was told by
Yeah.
the doctors to stop everything because my nervous system was fucked. Like it was not a pleasant journey getting here. But it wasn't about the body. It was about the habits, everything that was going on to lead me to this place of like, oh my God. Like in it's so crazy. You can change your body shape by what you like if you desire something,
Oh,
there's
yeah.
usually more behind that, FYI. You
Lots
can
of effort, lots of
literally
work, lots of
right?
discipline, but you can do that.
You can
Uh-huh.
change your physical. I did it. Like it literally, my body is physically night and day. Like, whoa, it's so cool. And yeah, it comes with grieving and fear that
Yeah.
I'm now dying because dance is not the same.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like, okay, I'm taking a breath here because I'm there's so much truth to what you're saying around like when something has been a part of us for so long, whether it's our how our bodies look or our relationship to something spiritual that's been really sturdy for us. Um, Even like I'm imagining like people who go into motherhood, right? Like their
Hmm.
relationship with themselves, with their partners, that is going to change when you become a mom. When you freaking squeeze a baby out of your vagina, your life changes after that.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
so like I'm just what you're saying, I'm there's because I'm not a dancer, but I understand exactly what you are saying. And I know the listeners in their whatever's happening in their lives, right? When we experience these transitions, these major transitions, because this isn't like oh, I'm changing jobs or like, or I mean, changing jobs can be a really big transition too,
Mhm,
actually.
mhm,
But
mhm, mhm.
I'm not like changing what type of oatmeal I'm eating.
Yeah.
This is like a big transition in
Yeah.
your life.
Yeah.
And so of course, there's going to be grieving that happens with it. There's going to be fear that comes with it. And um I think Des told me this one. So for our listeners, Des is an individual who introduced me and Rebecca. She's a wonderful woman.
Beautiful.
And
Yeah.
dude, she's amazing. And uh she told me once that when we're shifting, when we're changing, the parts that are most familiar, they like right when we're on the cusp of this change, they scream the loudest because they want to hold they're
Mhm.
holding on the
Mhm.
tightest. So they're
Mhm. Mhm.
screaming and they're making all these noises. So
Mhm.
yeah, I can absolutely like everything that you were just saying totally it just resonates. Because I'm going through my own transitions and I probably should come to your workshop. When's your
I would
workshop?
love
Yeah, what is
February
it?
17th, 2026, 5:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time.
Nice.
And bring three-quarters of yourself. Just kidding, bring all of you. Just joking. I just had to drop that.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to check my schedule because yeah,
I would
I
love
think
to have
you know this, like transition is the chapter of life that I'm in right now. And
you.
so
Mhm.
yeah, that would be might be
Definitely.
helpful for me too. And for the listeners,
Well,
come to this
also, I would love
workshop.
it because it's going to be a conversational piece as well for people. So, yes, I'm the guide, I'm
Hmm.
the lead within that, but it's also a conversational piece because we're all human going through transitions and
Yeah.
change is the only constant in life. Um, I
Wow.
think that I know, right? That's a big portion of what we talk
Yeah, I
about
had to like,
too.
ooh, I gotta like do some shoulder shrugs. Maybe I might have to get up for a minute and move.
Oh, Lucy got up too to move around. Hi, is change it up for you too, girlfriend? It is. Yes, Aubrey. Yes, Aubrey. Woo, 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 woo. Yes. Ay, ay, ay. Yeah, I love your dance moves, and Lucy's literally up dancing with you, and she can't even see you. Yes, good girl. Good girl, Lucy, Lucy, Lucy May.
I'm still
I think
listening.
oh yeah. I feel like I don't know, I don't want to say we're coming to a close, but we could if we want to, because I feel like there's something that's coming forward. I don't fully know exactly what's going to come forward. This is my life of channeling sometimes, but as we shift and change our relationship to ourselves, it changes our relationship to life, it changes our relationship to our lifestyle and how we interact with things. It changes how you cook, it changes how you talk to people, it changes how you like just maneuver things. And when we shift and we respond differently, our relationships are also going to shift and respond differently to us. Things are going to change. There might be some things that don't feel as good or people that don't feel as good. There might be things that feel better and you're not really entirely sure. But essentially, when your relationship to yourself changes, your relationship to others changes, and your relationship to life changes, and literally, like you can see, I don't know if you've experienced this, you can see and feel and hear things differently, literally. Like
Mm-hmm.
you
Mm-hmm.
can be doing the same task and you're completely different. Like your relationship to everything. is different.
Yeah.
And hence, your world around you, when we shift and we change our relationship to self, our relationship to life, and our whatever bigger than grounding
Hmm.
ourselves in earth, like it really, really, really does change the way life responds to you and with you, and
Yeah.
it's a
Mm.
very beautiful, big, full experience, like
Scary
moving through.
sometimes.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. But it's
Yeah.
what makes us alive, right? Like, I would
Yeah.
much rather feel, you know, scared and excited and uncertain and all these different feelings and go through changes than experience like a stagnation or just a dullness and not have anything, any changes. Yeah. Like a
Yeah.
robot.
Well, I don't know if
So,
I'm pretty sure undiagnosed ADHD over here, like that type of those words are like, oh, so, which also maybe I'm changing. I'll let myself change and love it. But like, yeah, I don't know. I'm going to blame
yeah,
it
that
on
was
science.
beautiful.
Science says our life
Science.
changes. So therefore, run, keep changing. Just kidding.
Well, I think that was beautiful, and I agree. That's kind of a good way to close too. Of just like, yeah, when our relationship to ourself changes, it changes relationships with everything else. Everything else, it bleeds into it. And everything is connected, right? So
Mhm.
even like, my relationship with God has also changed the relationship with myself. My
Mhm.
relationship with myself has changed the relationship with my partner. So everything is
Mhm.
connected. Doesn't you'll probably never hear me say this ever again, but it doesn't always have to start with the self, I guess.
It doesn't. You're absolutely right. You're absolutely
Yeah.
right. It doesn't. Does it guide you back to yourself sometimes? Yes, probably 100%
100%.
of the time. Yeah. We said that at the same time. Oh my gosh, I love that. Well, what a beautiful episode again. Completely thrown into the unknown with guidance of our cat tower, cave, sorry, cat cave, and our tarot
Hmm.
cards, and the
Yeah.
eagles that you saw.
Yeah. So
Um,
beautiful. Yeah. Thanks for the
mhm.
conversation. That was great.
Yeah, thank you. Tune in next time for who knows whatever the fuck we don't know. Oh, gee.
I love it. I love it.
Thank you for tuning in and letting your soul sit with ours. You can find us on our socials at Rebs the Recca.
And at Pleasure Roots.
If you're feeling cracked open, turned on, deliciously uncomfortable, good. That means the truth is working.
Join us next time as we strip down another layer, one card, one topic, one conversation at a time.
Stay honest, stay curious,
And stay naked, where it matters most.